Voice of the Sea, learning from experts across the ocean.
Welcome to Voice of the Sea. In this episode, we meet some heroes of Pacific Island culture, master navigator Sesario Sewralur and traditional voyaging canoe builder and sailor Tim Gilliom. Tim is a crew member on the Hokulea and sailed with Maopiailu. Sesario Sewralur is the son of Maopiailu, the master navigator who led the Hokulea across the Pacific and revived the skill of crossing the ocean without maps or instruments.
Navigation is the process of determining where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there.
Navigation is really important for mariners because we want to use that to tell us where we are, where we don't want to go. It keeps us from getting lost.
I am a student of navigation. We've built a canoe which is a replica of those canoes that our Polynesian ancestors had sailed on. And by sailing these canoes, we're really getting back that relationship that our ancestors had with nature and with the earth. Before we go on a voyage, we'll plot out our course. It's like drawing an imaginary line over the ocean, and we are keeping track of where we are relative to that imaginary line throughout the course of our voyage.
Its meaning is the voice of the sea.
Cesario, it's such an honor to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Heard so much about you and your family, your father Mao. There was a point in time not too long ago when the tradition and the knowledge of navigation was shrinking and people were not passing it on. And your father was very instrumental, Mao, in coming to Hawaii and teaching the people of the Hokulea how to navigate and resurrecting that knowledge. And now here you are at the Palau Community College teaching the people of Micronesia and those same skills. You must feel very proud about that.
Yeah, I'm very proud because that's my father's dream, that he wants to bring everybody together as one family of navigation. But my father was just worried that navigation will die and nobody will revive the skills. It's against the rules of navigation to pass on to anybody, but it has to be within the family. So my father believes that most of my older brothers are gone and married to someplace else, and he believes that maybe all of us will grow up and do the same thing, so he needs to share with somebody. So it happens that he went with Mike McCoy to Hawaii for on vacation in Hawaii, and then that was in 1975. And then they were looking for a navigator. So he was introduced to Polynesian Voyaging Society, and they asked him to go home and wait. They'll probably call him. Polynesians still have one left navigator who they were looking up to take the canoe from Hawaii to Tahiti. But he died before the 1976 trip. So they had to call my father to come and take the canoe to Tahiti. So my father was so proud that he passed on the torch to the Hawaiian, and hopefully this thing will continue to grow and pass it down to the kids, new generations. That's what I'm trying to do in Palau also.
Are your children learning how to navigate?
Yes, my 8-year-old boy is learning the name of the stars, and he knows some of the stars that we use for navigation. Hopefully he's continued to, and he's very interested in going out into the water, so I hope he's gonna get everything that I have. So my father always told me, doesn't matter if you die in the water, you'll die anyway. Yeah. So you stay on land, you're still going to be die. You go out in the water, you're still going to be die if you're going to die.
Can you tell me a little bit about the sailing canoe, the voyaging canoe that is here?
My father asked me to go ahead and take care of the canoe and use it as a floating classroom with the students. So here it is in Palau, and we're using it every year. Only this year that we haven't go out because it's under repair. And yeah, we slowly gain funds from people who's willing to donate. Micronesia is very hard to find money. So we're having a hard time to purchase all we need, so we slowly repair, but we'll get there.
So this is actually the canoe that was brought to your father in Yap, and now you've sailed it here to use as your floating classroom.
Yes.
It has quite a history.
That's my father's dream, that the Tabohal canoe, Polynesian voyaging canoe, will be the floating classroom for Micronesian people.
How is learning the navigational skills different than traditional school, like elementary or high school?
Well, it's all Western skills that we learn in elementary school. You know, all these that it's same as Hawaii and everywhere in Micronesia that they go to school. Navigation school is it's really different from, you know, of course, a little mathematics, including the navigation, because you need to figure out things and your position and everything. But it's just all by thinking in your head. It's instead of looking into computers to write it down or something. Yeah.
That is the part that amazes me. I think about what the navigators do, and I would want to write it down. How do you have the confidence that you've remembered correctly?
Well, as my father always tell me that try to keep everything he gave me to put in my head and remember everything, because if I put it on a piece of paper, and when you go out in the water and your paper is all wet, then it's no use of it to look in the paper because you cannot see it anymore. Instead of putting in your head and remember all those stuffs. And then.
What do you do, say, if you're out in the canoe and it's been stormy for many days and you haven't been able to see the stars? How do you continue to navigate?
It's not only the stars that we navigate. It's also we navigate by the ocean swells. As I learned navigation, the ocean swells are coming from each direction, depends on the wind direction. For example, if it's easterly wind, then the easterly wind swell should be bigger than the rest of the swell. So it's just a matter of staying awake and keep tracking of what you do during navigation, but just to make sure that you know your east, your north, your south, and your west, so you don't get lost.
What is maybe the most number of days that you stayed awake in a row?
When I first, my father led me to navigate, I was a little scared and I wasn't sure if I'm gonna be doing the right thing or I'll be, lost in the ocean. So I think I stay up almost a week, not going to sleep until we sight the land. 7 days, I think.
How do you keep your brain working? It's such a intensive thing to be able to remember.
At least you have a minute of sleep. You just head down and close your eyes, and then every movement of the canoe, then you feel to wake up and look at what's going on. So I think 1 minute for me is enough sleep to bow down and just close my eyes and then wake up until I get to the island, and then that's when I rest. Very good.
So we've talked about the stars and the wind and the ocean currents, the waves. Are there any other elements that you use for navigation?
Seabirds, color of clouds.
A navigator must recognize the different types of birds. There are some that can hang out on the ocean for days to months, and there are certain birds that live on land and fly out to the ocean at sunrise to get food, back to the land at sunset to sleep. There are two key birds that we use, the manuoku, which is a white fairy tern, And there's the noyo, which is a brown tern. And so as we're approaching islands, when we start to see these birds, we know we're within that distance of that island. Clouds are also important for a navigator to recognize. There are different ways that a navigator might use clouds. One is direction. Clouds will show you the path of the wind. We also have clouds that get built up because of high islands. We have to understand our Earth and the clues in nature in order to find our way.
Talk to me about the color of the clouds.
Well, it's the reflection of lagoon into the clouds. You know, you can look, it's turned like light, very light blue. Then, you know, it's the color from the lagoon. That sun, it goes down and reflects from the lagoon and goes to the cloud. And then, you know, it tells you that's where the island is. For the birds, it's early in the morning, like 6 o'clock. You know, the seabirds that lives on the island, they fly out early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning to go fish. So they fly out of the island to go out fishing. 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening, they go back to the island. So they tell you where the direction of the island is. So you can follow the birds. They're smart and they see the island.
Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online. New activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.
Sesario Sewralur, talking about the environmental cues and animal behaviors that help traditional sailors navigate in the ocean.
A lot of animals, they know things about the environment that people may not pick up on. Is that true, do you think?
Yeah, we also use like dolphins, sharks, you know, but there is a sign that you need to know. What I have learned from my father is if you meet these animals or the sharks or whatever fish, they're supposed to have a sign of either they jump up twice or a couple times, and there's always a sign that you need to know. And then from there it tells you where the direction of the island is. In
Western kinds of science, we marvel at the ability of different fish species, or a sea turtle or a salmon or a shark, to find its nursery area again and again over time, or a tuna that goes to a spawning migration maybe halfway around the world. And what you're doing with the sailing canoe and the navigation is so similar to that, but you're not using senses any different than I have. You're just using them in a different way.
You know, we've been sailing between islands and we've seen these dolphins all the time. And exactly same direction that we detect that this is where the island is. We went and then we find the island. We find Westfire, we find Sarol, we find. So we've been, every year that we go to Saipan or we sail around, we always come across those dolphins. And which is that's what we heard from our teachers. That if you hit this group of dolphins, this direction will be this island, that direction will be that island, this direction will be another island. So it's not only once that we see the dolphins, but it's been so many times but they're still in the same position.
In relearning the way that our Polynesian ancestors navigated, we're really relearning the incredible scientists that they were. We use the stars, or hoku, in navigating by memorizing 200 stars and their rising and setting points on the horizon. That gives us a definite directional clue that we can orient ourselves on the canoe based on that rising or setting point. You can also use a star like Hokupa'a, or the North Star. Its height above the horizon gives us an estimate of what our latitude is in the northern hemisphere. And then there are other stars that go around Hokupa'a that are like hands of a clock. So it helps us to tell time over the course of the night.
The University of Hawaii Sea Grant College program, helping coastal communities of Hawaii and the Pacific through research, education, and outreach. Serving the community, from elementary to graduate students. Hawaii Sea Grant.
You're watching Voice of the Sea.
Next, we travel to Maui to meet up with voyaging canoe builder Tim Gilliom. Tim talks about the role of the navigator on the Hokulea voyaging canoe and his memories of Cesario's father, Mau Piailu.
The navigator is always checking his speed. You're always doing speed checks. You want to know what your average speed is.
How do you calculate that?
Nainoa has devised a formula that works actually for our canoe, because our canoe is within inches of theirs. So it's from the front yako to the back. And when the bubbles hit the hull and the wave goes out, you look right at the bubbles and you count as it goes from the first yako to the back, and you divide it into 25, and that gives you like a rough speed. So you're constantly doing that.
Just kind of quick, like in your head.
Yeah, the navigator will want a speed check all the time. And then I guess he takes like an average, and then you will calculate that into how far you're going, like from A to B. So you want to know how many miles you're doing, and you don't want to be standing up there looking for the island if you're a week away, and you don't want to be doing it if you've already passed it. So you really need to know that the speed and the time is like part of the speed, time, and distance. Yeah.
But do you wear a watch?
No watch.
So to tell time, how do you tell time?
That's tricky. You can use the holopuni that goes around the North Star. I personally can't do it, but I've seen Nainoa do it. It's unbelievably accurate.
And are you writing these things down?
Yeah, the navigator pretty much keeps track of all that. That's his whole job. So he'll have all of that calculated and all those numbers, and it's a lot of pressure.
And what happens when the navigator needs to sleep?
From what I've seen, they don't sleep very much. They sleep when it's all over and they go home. It's really, really hard. I don't know how they can stay awake. They take little cat naps during the day, but at night, in the morning and in the evening is when they're awake and they're focusing on what they do. And at night, they're using the stars they can see. And it can be really hard if you don't see the stars when it's all cloudy.
Right, when it's cloudy, and especially maybe cloudy for days at a time. What do you do?
Then you're reading the wind and the swell. So that's what they really concentrate on, is the direction of the swell and the wind. Sometimes the wind can change and swirl around. You got to be really good to actually see it. If you're not seeing it when it's happening, and it happens, then you're like thinking the canoe turned, So there's a lot to it.
And can you tell the difference in the wind or the swell or even like the smell as you get closer to land?
I know Papa Mau, he could smell the island. He could smell the coconuts or the coconut trees. But yeah, you'd have to have done that a whole lifetime to be able to be in that caliper. The Hawaii navigators, they all pretty much learned from Papa Mau. I mean, he's the Grand Master.
And where is he from?
He's from Sarawak in Micronesia, Federated States of Micronesia.
And how did he come to Hawaii to teach?
He came and taught Uncle Shorty, and I think he was the first student, and then Nainoa. And then that was a long time ago. And from them making their own format for their different canoes, that's how we've all come to learn from. So all the different, you go through all the islands in Polynesia now, they all have canoes now. New Zealand, Cook Islands, Tahiti, it's just rekindled the whole thing, all from that one man. That's why we put his name here. So he'll steer us.
Dead Reckoning is a system of knowing where you are when you're voyaging over the ocean.
Our ships use dead reckoning by tracking our speed and distance with computers, and then we also use an old-fashioned paper chart with a pencil.
So our Polynesian ancestors were incredible explorers, able to cross thousands of miles of open ocean on their voyaging canoes without using any instruments. And the way that we dead reckon on the voyaging canoe is we're keeping track of how fast we're going, our speed, over a period of time, and we can calculate our distance. You only know where you are based on knowing where you've come from. So we're keeping track of all of those things while using the natural clues around us to know what direction we're sailing in.
Does everybody learn how to navigate?
Well, everyone will know the theory, but it's just whoever picks it up and runs with it be the chosen few who actually, hopefully, will stick with it and do it. Because it takes, I mean, it's not like a college class. It takes a long time. It's like a lifetime.
I hear you saying the words captain and then the word navigator. Can you explain to me the difference?
Well, the navigator does all the navigation, and the captain pretty much like runs the canoe. And you know, some of them do both, and some of them only do one or the other.
So,
like, I'm not a navigator, I'm just a captain.
But what does running the canoe mean?
You know, just making sure everything's safe and it's all running like a clock. You got different shifts, you got different people doing different things, and then you have the people that aren't on shift, you want them sleeping and resting, so when they come out, they're ready to go. And then you got the cook, he has to, you know, he's the main guy keeping everybody happy. And you get a junk cook, you get a junk trip. So you want to have a really good cook.
Can you describe what people would actually do? You
got guys that are on watch, you know, tuning the sails and getting the most speed out of what you're, you know, where you're going. And trimming the sails is pretty heavy, and the steering is real heavy. If you can't steer straight, then you shouldn't be steering. So that's two of the key things right there, and that affects the navigator.
Thanks for watching Voice of the Sea. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is a dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group, teaching ocean science concepts through the disciplines of physics, chemistry, biology, and ecology. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now available freely online. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.
The Curriculum Research and Development Group in the College of Education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. CRDG has been providing quality educational programs and services for over 40 years, serving students, teachers, parents, educators, and experts around the world and here in Hawaii. The Curriculum Research and Development Group, improving schools, improving education. CRDG.
Healthy oceans are critical to our cultural, economic, and environmental sustainability in Hawaii. The ocean serves as a source of water, food, medicine, jobs, transportation, recreation, and energy. It controls climate and weather. Kosi Island Earth aims to share this ocean awareness by partnering with local scientists and educators to engage communities and schools in active science learning for an ocean-literate population. Kosi Island Earth is working to establish new avenues for connecting research scientists with educators and communities. Kosi Island Earth is enhancing the science and ocean literacy of our island residents and visitors. Kosi Island Earth is connecting scientific research, traditional knowledge, and ocean policy. Kosi Island Earth, bringing together university, government, research, and community partners to improve science education and ocean stewardship in Hawaii.